What's up, Magnetic Men Club? We're here with another live this week. Obviously, we do these lives every single week. So if you want your questions answered, this is the perfect place to get started. So we're covering these topics, mostly the topics that we've actually covered in our previous videos. Today, the topic is and effective communication. So
Yes.
Communication is the cornerstone of relationships. We've said it before. We'll say it again. It's really one of the key things that we like to focus on because it is the cornerstone of any relationship. Whether you're trying to form a relationship with a new girl, whether you're trying to improve your relationship with your current wife or girlfriend, and whether you're trying to actually have better relationships with your friends, with your colleagues, all that stuff. This stuff is key to it. So if you want to try and sign new people, you want to try and actually make your sales and stuff too, this is going to be a key thing for that. And so this is really how we get to know people. That's one of the biggest things about this topic is how do we get to know people? How do we actually form a relationship with people? How do we actually strengthen those relationships and stuff too? And so that's really what the topic is for today. Like I said, we do these every single week. So if there's any particular topics you guys want us to cover, just let us know. So let's jump into it. Obviously, let's introduce ourselves first, I guess, right? I'm Chase. If you haven't met me yet, got my good friend Jared here.
Hey guys, and I apologize if you guys hear this humming noise in the background. I'm actually down in Raleigh, North Carolina, with my other company, and they're mowing and weed eating right here in front of my window. So, of course,
I can't hear anything on this end.
All right, I can hear it, so I'm like, what?
It's all good. It's all good. We do what we must, right? And so that's one of the biggest things too. Is he's even traveling right now, and we're still showing up here for you guys. So just let us know what you guys want. We're here for you. If you want to schedule a free breakthrough call with Jared here, you can do that on our website. The link is below. We made a video on this particular topic just this last week too that we had posted. That link is also down below, and make sure you guys get into our Facebook group. You'll find that link below too. And so let's dive in. What are some common misconceptions about small talk?
Yeah, so I mean, you could just ask anybody this, and they're gonna kind of say one of three things. They're gonna say it's boring, it's shallow, and it's pointless. And I used to think the same thing until I got more into coaching, until I understood better. I'm still learning, but until I understood better communication and how to effectively communicate with people. And, if you perceive it's boring, if you perceive it's shallow, if you think it's pointless, well, then you're going to frame every interaction you meet with somebody that way. So, of course, it makes sense that the people coming to you, you feel are boring, they're shallow, or it's pointless. So it totally makes sense. That's how you're perceiving it. So I used to do the same thing. And, it's odd to me, even today, I still don't really understand it. We are the most connected we've ever been, yet we're still completely isolated. People right next to us, we don't talk to. Our friends and family, we go to, we go out to dinner. Go out to dinner and you'll see a whole family on their phones. They're not talking. And so small talk is really just that social grease, it's just greasing those wheels to kind of get to know people. And I think a lot of people understand small talk as that. It's boring, it's pointless, and not. But if they actually can rephrase that and think, okay, this is a social lubricant I can use to get into better conversations with people that I'm meeting, that I've just met. And we also use small talk with our friends and family. You might have seen a buddy from high school.
Yeah.
10 years, you run into them at the airport. Well, you're not going to have a deep conversation with them. You're going to say, how's the family? How's the kids? What are you up to? That's all small talk, but it's part of the bigger. You're still connecting. You're still just catching up. You're connecting with him. Could be an ex-friend from high school, like I said, college, somebody. So small talk is very important. It's a way that connects us to one another.
And see, that's the thing too, is I've been in sales for almost 10 years now too. And I know that when I get on any sales call, the first thing that we start talking about is we don't jump right into hey, are you trying to buy this product? Do you want this? Here's all the features for it. Here's all the benefits. No,
Right.
We need to build a relationship. We need to even understand if we even want to work together, or if it even is the right fit for them, or if we're even a right fit to work together. It's the same thing when you're trying to actually get a girlfriend. It's the same thing when you're trying to even just make friends. And so the biggest thing is you're building a relationship. I think that's why these misconceptions are so dangerous, because you got to reframe around it. That's one of the biggest things here is if you're framing it as a negative thing, or you're just kind of overthinking it, it's going to cause you to be alone. It's really going to cause people not to want to be around you. It's going to make it really hard for you to build relationships in the future. Yeah. And so I think you got to try and reframe around it. If you're really shy, you're really anxious, just understand that you're probably just overthinking it just a little bit. And so you really just need to approach it a different way, reframe it a different way, get out there and practice. And so the biggest thing too is implementing what you've learned. And so let's jump into the next question here. So how can someone overcome feeling uncomfortable or anxious about small talk? So I think that's, like I said, the framing and stuff too. So
again, when I used to think, oh God, this person, if somebody asks me how the weather is or strange weather we're having one more time, I was going to lose it. Just this, and again, some of it is pointless, but if you kind of treat it like a game, if you kind of come from the angle, if you're the one initiating the small talk, treat it like a game. You're just trying to see if this person's even responsive to your dialogue. If they're not, well, then you don't need to be near them anyway. So a lot of people will use small talk as just that icebreaker. Just, again, it's really warm out today, or, hey, and they nod their head, or they, you know what I mean? But you have that disconnect still where this person wants to really know, who are you? Why are you talking to me? This is weird. Why don't you message me? You know what I mean? In that sense, you don't know, but you should be messaging. Why are you actually talking to me, you pervert, you bastard? Why would you do this? This is what people think. How come when we were 5 years old or kids, you could walk into a playground and play with every kid? They didn't have to worry about small talk. They just accepted themselves. Hey, I'm a kid. You're a kid. You want to play? Great. Think about it in that mindset. All we are grown kids. That's it. There's really nothing different, except as we get older, we get conditioned, we get programmed. And it even starts with little kids. Remember stranger danger? Well, that's a good thing to remember. But as we get older, we take these steps to further isolate ourselves from everybody else. And it's very hard to communicate that way. And again, with social media and all this other stuff, it's so easy to use the avatar of yourself and not the actual self. So it's no wonder why everybody's so anxious or even hates doing small talk, because they don't want to put themselves out there to actually be rejected by somebody by just talking to them or having them look at you like, who the hell are you? Why are you talking to me? And I get it all the time, because inherently I'm not very talkative on the outside. I kind of got, I got a throat tattoo, for Christ's sakes. I'm tattooed. People look at me as this guy's here to kill me. That this is why,
yeah.
Until I start talking to them and letting them know I'm not a threat. I'm just saying, how's your day? Or, I like to make it fun. I might ask a question that they have what? Completely don't ask a normal question.
Right.
So repetition is the mother of skill. So you have to just get out there, have a good smile on your face, just go out and talk to people. Start with the basics. Hey, how you doing? I love that shirt. Where did you get it? Something like that. All you're trying to do is break through that construct that we've created that you shouldn't talk to strangers.
Right.
Bullshit. I've met some amazing people through small talk that's helped my business enormously in a couple of my different businesses. I had no idea who I was chit-chatting with until we got into deeper conversations. I wouldn't have been able to get into that deeper conversation without the chit-chat, without the small talk.
Right.
So you never know who you're talking to. And that's the biggest thing I tell people, especially if you're in sales. And let me back up. We're all in sales. If you
100%.
don't work for the government because all they do is take, and the employees of the government just take, everyone else is in sales. So it would make sense for you to meet as many people as possible to see if there's a commonality in you working together or furthering that relationship. It makes sense. The more people you know in your social network, in your social group, the more opportunities you have to sell them something or to provide them something that they might need from you. So it makes sense.
Yeah, I like that you brought that up too, because that's one big thing that I learned in sales. And I remember thinking like years ago that I had social anxiety. I used to identify with social anxiety and that kind of stuff too. And I didn't realize like, well, that's not the case at all. Like you're just framing this the wrong way. Yeah. And so what I realized when I actually got into sales, which that's the thing that helped me the most with actually talking to people and actually trying to be more charismatic, that kind of stuff. That's why it comes easy to me now. It took a lot of practice, obviously. Yeah. But at the same time, I remember thinking to myself when I was trying to get into sales, like, well, all the opportunities are on the other side of other people. Like I have to talk to other people. I have to enjoy talking to other people because that's where all the opportunities are. That's where all the money is. That's how you're going to find those opportunities. And they're not just going to come after you. Like if you're sitting in your basement, you're just playing video games and stuff all day, those opportunities are not going to find you. Yeah. So you got to go talk to other people. Yeah. And you got to get to know other people. And you got to realize that it's really not that intimidating. And the only way to really realize that is through practice. And so it takes a lot of practice to wrap your head around. Like, don't judge a book by its cover. Just because somebody looks like Jared here, like really strong, masculine, really, I don't know if I want to approach this dude. Yeah. So it's like, but that's not the case at all. If you have a conversation with him, you realize that he's a really nice guy. And it would take maybe just a couple questions, like a little bit of talk, a little bit of small talk, obviously, a little bit of conversation to realize that. Mm-hmm. But you would never get there if you were just trying to avoid it. And so that's the problem is you got to reframe around it and say, okay, well, all the opportunities are on the other side of other people. I really shouldn't judge a book by its cover. I'm probably overthinking this. And usually you're personifying things on other people too. You're thinking that they're thinking this, they're going to behave this way. And you're really just personifying that stuff out there. And so you got to realize that you got to backtrack up. You got to backtrack that just a little bit and realize that there's really no problem here. Right. And that it's really not as scary as you think it is. And the more that you get into this, the more conversations that you have, the better you're going to get at it overall. Right. And so how does someone get better with using small talk?
You know, like I said, it's just getting out there, getting comfortable being uncomfortable, talking, putting a good smile on your face, just kind of walking up to a stranger. One of the best ways I've helped. Now, I haven't coached too many people around this. It starts with guys saying, I'm not good with girls. And then, you know, you kind of get into it. And it always leads to communication. Always comes into, well, I don't know what to say. Small talk. Okay, great. Now we're getting someplace. Well, I always found that if you're really shy or you don't know what to say to somebody, compliment them sincerely on something about them. Because you have maybe it's a guy you're threatened because you're in a t-shirt and he's in a 3-piece business suit and you're like, oh, he'll never want to say hi to me. Right. I'm clearly beneath him. Well, that might be the only suit he has. That's not the point. You could easily go up to him and say, hey man, I just gotta say, no homo. That shit looks great on you. That's an awesome suit. Can I ask where you got it? And then it's up to him. It's like playing tennis. You hit the ball and you wait for a response. If the guy keeps walking past you, looks at you like you're a piece of crap, no big deal. It's his loss.
Right.
But in that process, you gave him a compliment. You gave him something freely that might have made his whole day. He might have some other issues going on that he didn't want to talk to you. That's fine. So I look at small talk as just giving something to somebody, a compliment, asking a question so that I do it an empowering question, not just a question, but ask a question that allows them to help me or allows them to think about something other than the weather or I work at Macy's, you know, whatever job you do. So again, play with it. Just be, hey, I love, you know, even with women, guys get so hung up on her beauty. But
Right.
a
Yeah.
lot of women have resting bitch face. They just do. They just look pissed. They, and part of it is if they can look that way, people won't talk to them. I get it. I understand it. But if you just go up and say, she's a person, treat her like your bratty little sister, walk up to her and just stick out your tongue. Hey, how's it going? I guarantee you she's going to be like, well, it's going to just break it right down. So just play with it. I haven't seen yet on the news somebody walking up to somebody for small talk saying hi, getting shot. I've yet to see that. So the worst that can happen is they just shoot you down. They say, get away from me. They leave. Who cares? Who cares?
Exactly.
They're not even going to remember you. They're not even going to remember, and you're not even going to remember what they look like in 3 hours. You're not. So who cares?
And see, that's why I like equating it to sales too. Not everybody's a good prospect. Like not everybody is your client. Not everybody should be your client. If you're thinking that everybody's your client, you're going to have a bad time. You're going to sign clients that are really going to create a lot of stress for you. And so it's the same thing when you're trying to find a girlfriend. It's the same thing when you're trying to find a friend. If you approach somebody and you're friendly and you just simply ask them a question, give them a compliment or something like that, and they scuzz you off, or they're just like, why are you talking to me? Then move on, man. Next opportunity. It's cool. No problem. You're not somebody I'm talking to. That's cool. No worries. I'm going to move on over here.
But see, what a lot of people do, their belief is because we all want to avoid pain and move to pleasure.
Right.
So as soon as they get shot down, as soon as they realize, I went up to this person and they ran away. Well, they don't want to do that again because that's leaning towards pain, that rejection. And the only way to do that, the only way to gain your confidence is take action. Keep doing it till you get better at it, till it becomes natural, till it becomes second nature, and then until you have no outcome. I have zero outcome literally in all of my relationships, whether it's guy relation, like friends, family. I have zero outcome. I literally don't care about the outcome. It's what I can provide.
Right.
And if something comes back, great. But I'm not looking for something back. That's small talk. Just shooting the shit. It's another human. We only got 80 something years on this earth, and then none of it matters anyway. Cool. Just think about it that way. It's all about, like you said, reframing. Thinking about what is the worst can happen. She tells me to fuck off, or this guy looks at me because he's in that 3-piece suit and I'm in my throat tattoo and this shirt or whatever. Great. Just think, he's probably scared of me. No big deal. Or, she's having a bad day. No big deal. So, don't beat yourself up for it. Just don't beat yourself up for it.
And see, I like to act like an investigator through this too, like in sales, or whether I'm trying to make a new friend with somebody, I'm trying to meet new people. Like if I'm in a new place, if I just, I'm just visiting this place for the first time, I might go check out the diner in town. I might go check out the bar. I might go check out somewhere, just depending on what my interests are and where I'm trying to find different people. It doesn't really matter. Even at the supermarket, man, it's really not a big deal. You find somebody in the park, you want to approach them and say hi, just go say hi. It's cool. It's really not a big deal. Like, I mean, people can be friendly. That's one thing I've noticed too, when I'm in new places and somebody actually does say good morning, or they say hi to me, or just what's up.
Yeah.
I'm like, hey, that's really cool. This is a really cool place. These people are friendly. And most people are like that. And so that's one of the big things is you just get a misconception around it. Yeah. I think one of the biggest things that people struggle with in this is how do they open up those conversations? Like, how do they actually break the ice, right? And start the conversation with somebody that they've never met.
Yeah. Like I said, one of a good way is look at something about them that you sincerely appreciate. Like, I love your hair, or maybe she's wearing a pretty dress, or that's cool shoes, whatever. At least you're offering them a compliment.
Right.
Then you're breaking that ice. Another fun way to do is I'm walking down the street. I'm just giving out a high five at random. I'm walking like, boom. And everyone knows what that sign is I got to give a high five.
Don't leave me hanging, man.
Yeah. Or the fist, because of COVID and all the, the liberals who can't touch anymore. The fist bump, just boom. And when people do that, that is a form of small talk. Even if you're in a hurry and you don't do anything more, that day with them, like you didn't stop to talk to them,
Right.
they're going to think about you and be like, God, that was random. This dude I didn't even know fist bump. And he went out of his way. So you're just trying to break the paradigm everybody has. You're trying to break that construct that we've all had. Like, why is this person coming up to me? Okay, he's going to ask about the weather. We're already in defensive mode. So break their defensive mode, break it down, and offer them a compliment. Or, hey, free high five today. Boom. And just, they're like, what the fuck just happened? And then if they're receiving you a little,
I've seen TikTok videos just like that too, actually, where the guys like they'll just go around and just see how people react to things. Like, hey, free hugs. You want a hug, or they'll go up like they're gonna hug somebody, and you'd be surprised at how many people act, and they reciprocate, and they come back and they give it to you. It's awesome.
You never know where somebody's at. You know, they might be deep in their thought. They may be a bitch. Who knows? But you won't know until you just interacting with them, and you'll know in seconds if they're receptive to you or not. And like I said, who cares, you know? And then a lot of it is, if you don't like asking basic questions, or if you don't like answering basic questions, ask empowering questions. Don't ask close-ended questions. And you know that in business, you don't want to ever get a client to say yes or no. You want them to answer a question so that it leads to you doing what? Asking another question.
Right.
He who asks the most questions in that dialogue is one perceived the most engaging, because you're getting them to talk about themselves. Everybody, especially women, but everybody loves to talk about themselves.
Right.
So the idea is get them to talk about themselves instead of saying, are you new here? That's a yes or no. No. Yes.
Right.
Why did you come to this? You know, if you're at a bar, why are you here right now? I'm just curious. Oh, well, my boyfriend's here, or what, whatever the fuck they're here. It forces them to give you an answer, not a yes or no. Oh, cool. So you're here on your, whatever. I'm here on a business trip. Oh God. Well, what is it that you do? Oh, I'm in sales. Tell me more. Oh, I'm in this kind of sales. How did you get into that? Boom, 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 boom. And then this person's like, wow, I feel like I know this person, and they don't know shit about you. So
100%.
It's just asking questions, and it's asking questions that are empowering to them so that they can talk about themselves. Once they get in the framework of talking about themselves, if they're good at dialogue, they'll ask you questions. If they're not, and they just want to keep talking about themselves, hey, cool, get their business cards or whatever, but at least you didn't ask the same old questions. You didn't ask, you really dug in to an area of their life. And that's how sales is. Once you can get that common thing, hey, I'm in sales. Oh, really? What do you do? I work for Lockheed Martin sales. Then you move it into a better dialogue, a deeper thing. What made you get into sales? Well, my dad was into sales. I just, you never know where the conversation's going. So
that's the big thing too, is you got to take a real interest in the other person. Like, you really want to know these things. You're not just trying to keep them talking. Like, you really want to find people that you actually want to engage with. You want to find people that you really do want to learn more about, and then ask them those questions. Don't open up talking about yourself. No. Nobody likes somebody who just comes up to them and starts talking about themselves. Like, people like to talk about themselves, obviously.
They love it.
But at the same time, like, you really got to engage them. You've really got to try and control the conversation. And that the best way to control a conversation is to be the person asking the most questions.
Right.
And so treat it like it's an investigation. I'm really just trying to learn more here. I'm trying to learn more about you. I'm trying to figure out exactly if we're going to be a good fit, a good match, whatever it is. Doesn't matter if it's sales, doesn't matter if it's friendship, doesn't matter if it's a girlfriend. It's all the same stuff. And so really, relationships are the same no matter who you're trying to form a relationship with.
Yeah.
And the best way to form that relationship is communication. And so, like I said, if you want to control the conversation, especially in sales, you need to be the one asking the most questions.
Right.
And so really, it's not to say that you can't talk about yourself, but really wait for them to prompt you to do so. Wait for them to ask you those questions. And so I think that's a really big part of it too, is like I said, I like equating it to sales. One of the key pieces of advice that I got was to read a couple of the dating books that were really popular out there, like Neil Strauss's books and all those things. People were like, go read those books if you want to be better at sales. Again, I wasn't trying to pick up chicks. I mean, I've been married for since 2009, man. Yeah. And so I've been with the same girl since 2005. We've got a great relationship. We always have. And so I'm not looking for girls, but I read all those books because I knew they would make me better at sales.
It's dynamics. That's all it is. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. It made me way better at sales. And a lot of it came down to that investigative selling and stuff too. And then I started to realize, like, this is just relationship building. Like How to Win Friends and Influence People was one of the best sales books out there too. You're really just trying to sell yourself. We're all salesmen. It's not that I'm just in sales here trying to sell my product. You're trying to sell yourself. Right. You're trying to sell other people on your ideas all the time. Like, did you ever try to convince your parents to buy you a Nintendo 64 back in the day? Like, you were trying to sell them on the idea that you needed this Nintendo 64.
Right.
So it's the same thing in any relationship that you're in. So, I mean, just moving forward with that, like, what advice would you give to introverts or shy people who struggle with small talk?
Yeah, again, it's you can't do it behind a computer. You can't do it at your house. You have to be out in public. You have to get yourself out there. And, one of the things that we do with coaching around communication, not just specifically small talk, is if you are an introvert or if you are somebody who's just scared to talk to people, well, one of the things we do is we set up small goals and we kind of scale. We ask some scaling questions based on, what would you be willing to start with? Well, I'll go out and say hi to one person this week. Start small.
Fair enough.
That's a bronze level goal. Great. Okay. And then again, in coaching, we're going to hold them accountable. So our next coaching call, not who was it, but did you do it? Yeah. How did it go? You know what? I had a great conversation. Great. What's a silver level goal? You know what? I did one. I think I could go up, in my daily routine. I'm going to talk to, say, 3 people next week. Great. Hold them accountable. 3 people.
Right.
Follow up with them until you just do baby steps. It's all about baby steps. You got to learn to crawl before you can walk. So if you're scared to death on not knowing what to say, not knowing what to do, and when you just get up there, you're like,
yeah. Right.
But you actually went up there. Okay. So you got to just start there. Like, hey, I went up to the guy and then I ran away. But you weren't behind your desk and you weren't at home.
100%. Yeah.
And it's also having them, there's other limiting beliefs that they may have about themselves that we need to work on before they're even able to talk to people. A lot of people think very negative about themselves, and your brain is really good at giving you all the reasons why you suck. So it's what you focus on. So if their limiting beliefs are, I'm not good with girls, I'm not good with sales, I'm just not a social person, we have to start breaking that down first and then getting them into what's called the growth stage of taking action. And once they can take some action and get a little bit of success or failure, they're both good.
Right.
Keep doing it, then they can break that belief, thinking, you know what, I'm actually pretty social. I didn't realize it, but I can actually just talk to somebody. They didn't bite my head off. That's what we want to do. So we want to get them into that growth stage as fast as possible, and that's with taking action.
Well, the big thing too is a lot of people have a lot of like ingrained beliefs and a lot of paradigms that really serve to hold them back. Mm-hmm. And it's stuff they have a hard time challenging because, I mean, beliefs are just thought habits. I mean, obviously habits are hard to change in general. And if you read the book by James Clear, Atomic Habits, he actually talks about just this thing, like being 1% better every single day. So just starting out with little small things. The way he puts it in the book was, if you want to start working out and you're not very good at it, or you feel a lot of pain around it when you try to think about it, just start with a 2-minute walk.
Right.
And then tomorrow, do a 4-minute walk. And the next day, do a 5-minute walk, and just try and be 1% better every single day.
Right.
And after a year, you're 365% better. You're far better than you were, and you're in a far different position than you were in before too.
Yeah.
And so one of the big things I think is like where we actually talked about earlier, actually taking an interest in the person. And so that's one of the big things is like you're kind of overthinking it. You're thinking, okay, well, what's a good icebreaker? What's something that I can open up with? Like, what are these set lines that I can just go up and talk about? And it's like, no, find something about that person that you can go compliment them on. Find something about that person that you think might be interesting. What exactly do you want to know? I mean, just open up with simple things too. Like, hey, what time is it? Just go ask them for the time, then open up the conversation from there. Yeah. There's a lot of different things you can do. And I think that a lot of people just kind of overthink it, like especially with those icebreakers and stuff too. They just don't know how to open those conversations. And so they overthink it. And they start thinking, well, what if I say this? And they say this. If I say that, and they say that. But you're personifying already. And so that's one of the big things too, is just strip all that away. Don't assume anything. You're already assuming anyway, so you might as well assume it's going to go positive, right? You could assume it's going to go negative, or you can assume it's going to go positive.
Yeah.
Either way, you're assuming, and either way, you have no idea how it's going to go. Right. You have no idea how it's going to go until you actually go and open that conversation and get into it. And you'll realize, I think over time, that a lot of people don't act the way you think they're going to act. And once you realize that, you've broken the paradigm. You've broken that belief. That belief can no longer exist now. Now that belief is replaced with the fact that people really don't act the way that I assumed they were going to act. Right. And once you start assuming that, you're going to be way more willing to go open those conversations. But the only way to get there, the only way to get over that paradigm and that belief system is to get out there and practice. Just like you would go change a habit. It's not the amount of time it takes to change a habit. It's the amount of times that you do it that changes it. Right. And so it's the same thing with beliefs. It's the same thing with these paradigms that hold us back too. So if you have a lot of social anxiety, which I used to, and that's why I'm talking like this, because you got to get out there and talk to people. You got to realize it's not as bad as you think it is. It's not as hard as you think it is. Right. And it's really not. You're just overthinking it. You just need to keep it simple. You need to stop assuming things. You need to stop personifying out there. Get out there and actually talk to people. Just start out. Hey, what time is it, man? Can you tell me what time it is? Or, hey, man, your jacket is really fly. That's awesome. Yeah. Or just like Jared said, go up and throw up a fist bump or, free hugs, man, whatever it is. It doesn't matter. Just try and get something that you're comfortable with. Obviously, if you're not comfortable with hugs, fist bump. If you're not comfortable with touching at all, like, hey, what time is it? Hey, I like your shoes. Where'd you get those shoes? Really simple things. Yeah. Just keeping it simple. And then from there, once they talk about it, okay, well, where are you from? Are you from here? All right, okay, well, where do you work? Oh, I've been there. That's cool. Do you know so-and-so? And just keep that conversation going. And that really just kind of unfolds from there. And they're not going to act the way you think they're going to act. And so that's the biggest thing here is understanding that there's a paradigm, there's a belief system in place that could be holding you back on it. And like I said, just stop assuming. Start assuming in the positive direction. And so just kind of moving this forward, how important is active listening and effective communication in small talk? Like we talked about before, you have to take a genuine interest in the person.
Right.
What if you're not listening to what they're saying back? You're just trying to hit your points. Okay, ask this question, ask this question, ask this question. You have no idea what the person just said because you're so consumed with asking specific questions. And so how important do you think it is to actively listen to what the person's telling you?
It's very important, but active listening is actually a whole separate skill set that most people just don't have because it is a skill set. Most people do attentive listening. You might be talking to me like, yeah, cool, right? That's a lot of what you might get out there. They're not listening to you. They're just robots. So you have that kind of listening, and then you have responsive listening where it's just, I'm responding, but I'm not really listening. So great weather out there. Yeah, it is great. You know what I mean? It doesn't correlate well. Active listening actually is not even listening. It's looking at their body language, looking at their eyes. If they're looking around, maybe they're trying to find an exit. They're not comfortable. It's recognizing if the person first through their body language is even comfortable with your questioning, with your small talk.
100%.
And if they're not, there could be a lot of different reasons, but that none of them are your concern. Just exit out of it. But if somebody has a big smile on their face and, because you just gave them a big compliment or whatever, that's active listening. You recognize, okay, I just made this person smile. They're inviting me further to have a dialogue. So active listening is you actually listening with your entire body, looking for all of those signs. I'm telling you, most people just they're not there. That's one of the biggest
Being
things.
engaged, right? I mean, you got to be engaged in the conversation. It's a
Well,
conversation.
it's also picking up on cues. Like one of the biggest things in coaching when we do it is if I'm doing a Zoom call with somebody. This happened the other day. It was with a female. Perfect example. We were talking about something, and then she went like this, and like her voice inflection completely changed. And I looked at her. I was like, "Who's that right now?" And we'll call her Sue. No, we'll call her Barb. I said, "Is this Pouty Barb?" Yeah. So nice to meet you, Pouty Barb. So I actually gave a name to her poutiness.
That's great.
And
That's
so
great.
when you're talking to people and you can actually physically see them shift, that's active listening. You can recognize they just had a shift in their own presence for whatever reason. And if you can really do that and pick up on it and then call them out on that or playfully do it,
Label it. Yeah.
people will not forget you. They're like, this dude, there's something, he really listens to me. That's
Right.
active listening. It's very different. It's very hard to do because we're all have all these thoughts in our mind.
Uh-huh.
See, what I try to do when I'm actually talking to somebody for small talk, I have a complete blank. I have a lens about them that they're just amazing. Okay. I'm not coming up with them and goes, oh, that dude's a black dude. I don't know. Or she's super hot. She's going to shoot me down or that, you know what I mean? Everybody, you want to have what's called like a heroic lens. Look at them as they're their own hero. They have their own stories. If you can look at them that way as true people, then you get interested in them. Then you're like, man, I want to know about you. I don't know why we're here. What's going on?
Right.
If you can actually do that, that's how you can really make very fast connections with people and, obviously exchange numbers and all that and move it forward. Excuse me. But that's active listening. It's an art form. It's a skill all into itself where most people, like, again, they're just attentive listening. They're like, whatever. And people can feel that. They can feel when you're really not listening to them. How many times have you, heard my husband never listens to me? Probably not. Like, I'm tired of hearing your mouth half the time. Like, right? It's like, I'm just
Absolutely, yeah.
listening to you. I'm responding to your things. So it's a skill set. We can actually help you without a plug on this, of course, but that's a whole other skill set that we help business owners. You and I do with that active listening.
Right.
You nail that down, your sales goes right through the roof.
It takes a lot of practice too. It really does. And so that's where accountability comes in. That's why having a community of people around you who are doing this stuff all the time, who are trying to improve this stuff all the time, they're going to have so much advice for you. And so, like, when you actually get into our coaching program, you get into our courses, our communities and things like that, that's what you'll find there is the fact that there's a lot of other guys who are dealing with the same things you are. A lot of other girls too, who are dealing with the same things. But we're all on the same mission, and we're all on a mission to figure out exactly who we want to be and becoming that person, not being told who I am, but really, who am I deep down inside of me? And so that's really what we try to draw out of people is, who do you think you are and who do you actually want to be? Because those are the only things that matter. It doesn't matter how anybody else labels you or what you go through in that kind of regard. But if you really want to get better at active listening, you really want to get better at small talk, you really want to be a more social person, that's what we're here for. That's exactly why this coaching program even exists. And like I said, there's a lot of other people in this program that are suffering with the same things and that are trying to solve the same things, and they've solved them. And so why go through the pain of trying to figure it out yourself when you can actually have that support group that's ready to keep you accountable too?
Yeah.
Because it's through the actions that things change, and it's through the correct actions that things change too. And so instead of trying to figure it out through trial and error, you just go to this support group and say, hey, I'm struggling with this. This has been a little bit of an issue. What would you guys suggest? And you'll get some real answers back on things that you can actually take and implement, and you'll get better at it a lot faster. So it's really shortening that gap between who you are and who you really want to be,
Right.
and making sure that you actually get there.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that's the perfect analogy right there, you know. But we all have amazing stories. We all have, just really, there's always something amazing and cool about every one of us. And so if you can ask the questions to some stranger about their story, they're going to tell you because they want to tell you about it.
Right.
And that's the whole point, is get them to talk about themselves, get them to feel like you're not a threat. And clearly you're not a threat if you're asking questions. You're not. You're
Right.
generally engaged and interesting to them. And your relationships, even with your friends and families, you haven't seen in a while, you kind of get in there. All it is connection. That's all it is. You're just connecting with people. And I don't care who says I'm fine by myself, I'm cool but alone, I'm a loner. They're all full of shit. At the end of the day, we are connected. We have a sense and a need to connect. All of us.
100%.
100%.
So that's the big thing too, is people are dying to talk to you. They want to talk to you. They want to tell you about all these things. But just like you, they're assuming that nobody wants to hear it. They're assuming that nobody's really that interested. So if you walk up and you show somebody that you're genuinely interested in hearing who they are and hearing more about them, learning more about them, they're going to like you. That's how you get people to like it. I mean, if you've ever read the book, How to Win Friends and Influence People, that's really what it's all about. It's taking a genuine interest in the other person and really wanting to know more about them. Because if you do, they're dying to tell you. They want to tell you everything about themselves. And if they don't, then, they're not the right prospect. It's cool. Let's move on.
Yeah.
It's no big deal. Don't take anything personal from it. If you're taking it personally, you're going to have a bad time. You're going to build up these paradigms and these beliefs in yourself that people don't want to talk to you, or that you're not that social. And those are going to hurt you. It's just going to hold you back in the future. It's going to keep you from being the person that you really want to be.
Yeah.
And so you've really got to break those paradigms. You've got to break those beliefs and realize that people are dying to talk to you. They really want to talk to you. Just like you're maybe in the bar, or maybe you're at church, or maybe you're at the supermarket and you want somebody to come up and talk to you. You want somebody to come say hi to you. But at the same time, like maybe you're at a social event or something like that too, and you're just hoping that somebody comes up and has a conversation with you, but you don't want to go start that conversation because you're scared or you're overthinking it or whatever the deal is.
Yeah.
Really, everybody else is just like you. They're like, okay, I hope somebody comes and talks to me. I hope somebody opens up this conversation.
Mm-hmm.
If somebody's not talking to anybody, like I said, you got to kind of read their body language. You got to realize if somebody looks, like maybe they have a resting bitch face, you don't know. And you can't know unless you talk to that person. If you're assuming that person doesn't want to talk to you because maybe they have that resting bitch face, you have no idea how that's going to go. And so that's the biggest thing, is realizing that you have no idea how that conversation is going to go. They might look like they have a resting bitch face. They might look like they are, hard off, basically, like they don't really want to talk or something like that. You don't know until you go talk to that person. Hey, if you go talk to them and they just kind of give you those push off answers like, oh yeah, or whatever, they don't really feed into what you're trying to talk about, and move on, go talk to somebody else. There's a lot of other people. It's no big deal. Don't take it personally.
Yeah.
And so let's talk a little more about, real quick before we wrap this up, how do you transition from small talk to an actual deeper conversation? Like, how do you take that conversation somewhere deeper once you've actually gotten through the small talk, you've broken the ice, and you're talking to the person, they're talking to you back, you're having a genuine conversation?
Yeah, I think a lot of it is through your dialogue, through the small talk, and you're just asking general questions. You're trying to find something you have in common with that person. So it could look something like, hey, maybe you just walked into a bar. See, I travel a lot, so I'm down in Raleigh quite often. I'm always talking to people.
Right.
I know the probability of them living here is greater than me. I know that because I'm just down here. So if you just happen to shoot somebody in the bar, just asking them, hey, why do what's the best thing here to eat? I'm new here. So you just did two things. You asked them a question, but you also let them know you're new. So then they're like, oh, where are you from? I don't know how many times I've told people are from where I live, Syracuse. Everybody, I'm up in Syracuse, New York, in the New York area. And New York's a shithole. Everybody's moving out of that state.
Right.
They're moving down to Raleigh. They're moving down to South Carolina. So there's a ton of people from the north into the south. I've just built commonality. Oh my God, you're from Rochester? I'm from Syracuse. And then you just now you're connected, not in some weird woo-hoo way, just okay, we have similar upbringings. Rochester and Syracuse isn't that far away. Then you can move the conversation into, well, what made you come down here? Oh, you know what? I moved 10 years ago. Really, what's it been like? You see what I mean? Like, you're really engaging them. It's the best move I made. Taxes are awesome. There's jobs down here. People are happy. The sun is always shining. It's warm. Great. I'm looking to move. What area would you recommend somebody my age, being an older guy? Oh, this area. Why is that? And now you're not doing small talk anymore. That's not small talk. Now you're engaged into this person's in your story about he or she's helping you move. Theoretically, you should go here and check this out. Great. So that's not small talk anymore. Now you're actually into deeper conversations of, why did you move down here? Well, this place sucks. How is it now? Awesome. I have a great social network, all of that stuff. So the small talk, very beginning, a couple sentences can lead to those conversations. And once you get into those conversations, now you're both at ease. You're like, oh, all right, this person's Rochester. I'm serious. We kind of know each other. We've never met, but he's cool. I'm cool. If you're talking to a dude, whatever. And then, if you want to continue on that conversation, have a couple drinks, be like, hey, next time I come down here, we should hang out. Great.
Right.
Boom.
Absolutely.
If you're doing it with a girl and she's digging your vibe, it's the same damn thing. Just, hey, next time I'm come down here, let's grab dinner. Great. Boom. There's no difference. There's no difference in it. You're just building connections. That's it. And if the girl says, oh, I'm sorry, I'm married, I didn't mean to be like, well, we weren't talking anything weird. Just cool. No problem. But you met her, you met him, you just build connections. It's as simple as that.
Right.
The acronym always works. KISS. Keep it simple, stupid. Don't try to be this person that you're not. Just shoot the shit with people. If you fumble, fuck it, who cares? It's not, everyone just tries to make it so much harder. Men, we do this also. We do this all the time. We take simple conversation, we make it complex for whatever reason. Now,
it really depends on where you're at too. Like if you're in a small town, obviously most people in a small town, like you're going to know if somebody's new. You're going to know if somebody's new to town because everybody knows everybody. And so that's the cool thing about being in a small town. Like I live in Cabo San Lucas here. And so in Cabo was a small town. It's not a very big town. It's not a metropolitan area or anything like that. Like it's really, it's a small town. Everybody here knows everybody. Yeah. But the big thing is most of the people here are visiting here. And it was the same thing when I lived in Vegas too. I mean, I've lived in resort towns for more than 15 years now. Right. And so when I lived in Vegas, everybody there was visiting all the time. Vegas was a metropolitan area, but you would go to any bar, you would go to anywhere on the strip, even outside of the strip. And most of the people there were brand new all the time. And it was cool just getting to know new people all the time and getting to know people from around the world. Like I have friends in Australia. I have friends in the UK. I've got friends all over the US. I've got friends all over Mexico. Worldwide friendship. And so you really can't get that any other way. Like you've actually got to get out there and meet new people, and you've got to be okay with meeting new people because you're around the same old people all the time. Like you really start to reflect those people. Yeah. A lot of their habits and stuff rub off on you. Like the thing is too, is like you'll notice in a small town, like I'm from a small town. Yeah. And so I remember in that small town, everybody did the same thing all the time. Like they lived in that same town for generation after generation after generation. Yeah. They all did the same stuff. They all became their parents every single generation, which was interesting. Yeah. Then getting into a metropolitan area and realizing that there's so many differences between people, but I wouldn't have known any of that if I hadn't actually gotten out there and tried to actually strike up these conversations with people. I remember working in the hotels and resorts and things like that too. And I would see new people come in all the time. And, hey, what's going on? Where are you from? Yeah. That was the coolest question I could ask people was, where are you from? Because I knew for a fact they probably weren't from Vegas. And even if they were from Vegas, oh, hey, what part of town are you from? Right. And then you can get into that. And so there's just so many ways you can take a conversation if you're not overthinking it. And like I said, whatever questions come to mind, what do you want to know about this person? After they start talking to you, what specifically do you want to know about this person? And then just ask, and then just keep asking. And then whatever they tell you, keep going from there. If they're not giving you much back, if they're just like, yeah, well, yeah, I'm from here.
Yeah, then you can exit it.
Move on. It's okay. No problem.
Yeah, that's all.
And so, yeah, that's all we have for you guys today. If there's anything more on this topic that you guys want to know, if there's any other topics that you guys want us to cover, let us know. Let us know if you're here live. Let us know if you're here watching the replay. Like I said, continue to ask your questions in the comments section here. We're happy to answer. Any questions you guys ask across our whole entire channel, we're going to answer you. So no worries. If you have any specific questions, if there's anything you need specific help with, obviously you'll find our website link down below. Quick disclaimer on that. It's getting a little bit of a facelift this weekend. So just bear with us as we kind of work through that. But the form still works. If you guys have a question, you want to book that session with Jared here, just submit that form and we'll connect you up with that. No worries at all. Yeah. And so, like I said, go check out the other video. Jared actually breaks down the crow strategy in that video too. It was actually a really cool strategy. I liked the acronym and stuff too. And so that was a really good acronym to kind of use as a strategy when you're actually going out and meeting new people too. And so you'll find that video down below too. And like I said, join our community, get in there and strike up those engaging conversations. We have a paid community coming up here pretty soon too, where we're going to have a lot more people in there, a lot more help. We're going to have specific threads in there where you can actually ask specific questions about your dating life, about your relationship, about surviving divorce, surviving breakups, that kind of stuff, trying to achieve peak performance, becoming the person that you really want to be. There's a lot of different topics that we're going to be covering there. So stay tuned for that stuff. Obviously, we're here every single week with these lives. You'll see another live. We're going to be live on Friday from now on. So Friday at this time, we're going to stick with this for a little while. Let us know if there's a better time if you guys want to be here live to ask these questions. Otherwise, we will be back next week, same time on Friday. Show up, ask your questions, engage with us. We're happy to answer anything live here with Jared here. If there's any questions you have at all, let us know.
Awesome. Always.
Thanks, guys. Appreciate you.
Hey, guys. We'll talk soon. Bye.